following podcast contains spoilers and words like and We watch the Hello everybody and welcome back to We Watched a Thing. It's B Dizzle, and this week I had a patron request for a film so huge, so epic, so weird and wonderful that I knew there was only one person in the world that I could talk to about this movie. It's my best friend. You know him. You love him. It's Topher. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing well, Billy. How are you?
Oh, good, mate. Triumphant pop into the pod.
Yeah. What is this a guest appearance? Is this former friend of the show? Is this am I jilted lover of the podcast? What am I?
You know, one of our listeners did post on the Facebook page today, Topher sucks, and I didn't know how to respond to it because I was like, he is my best friend.
But also,
dick. Guy fucking sucks. Mate, how you?
Was
how
that
you
from
been?
your burner account, Tommy Boy Rules at Yahoo?
Okay, firstly, Tommy Boy does rule. Secondly, I don't need a burner account because I have fans. I'm sorry. What have you been up to for the last couple of months anyway?
Nothing.
Yeah?
I'm in lockdown. Nothing.
I tell you, you haven't been recording.
No, not at all.
Has that been fun?
I didn't start another podcast or anything.
Well, that's good because that would hurt me.
That would have hurt. That would have been funny.
That would have been pretty funny. You and Sam. It would have been even funnier if it was the exact same show. Just without me. All right. So this is going to be a fun one. As I said,
did tell you I was having a booze-free day, but I mean, red wine's medicinal, so this is okay.
Cheers, mate. There's lots of nutrients in hops, I've heard.
Gotta be. So
as mentioned, I had a patron request from dear patron of the show, Austin, who wanted me to watch 1984's Dune in anticipation of the Denis Villeneuve release later this month. I'd never seen 84's Dune, but I know that you actually watched it quite recently. So you've now watched this movie twice in the space of, 5 weeks?
Yeah, I'd gone from not seeing this film to watching it twice in the space of 2 months. Fucking hell. I was like, shouldn't one of the perks of not doing a movie podcast be that I don't have to watch fucking Dune?
Well, the main reason that I asked if you wanted to do this episode with me was because I knew that you had watched it quite recently. So in my head, I was like, I won't have to impose this film on anybody else. And then you were like, no, I don't remember it well enough.
Not for shit. I watched it late at night, probably drunk. I was like, I cannot possibly do an episode.
And yet, here we are, because I came round to your place for a couple of drinks the other night, and at first, you held strong. You were like, no, we're not watching Dune. We threw on Tron Legacy. And then after that finished, I was getting ready to go home, get all my stuff together, and you were like, I'll watch Dune now if you want. Where did that come from?
Because I knew that if we did, you would order bulk nuggets.
And I did. I ordered far too many nuggets. That's what happens to me when I drink. It just, I don't know what happens. Uber Eats just somehow appears on my phone and the nuggets start flowing. So let's get into it then. Dune is a 1984 American epic science fiction film written and directed by David Lynch and based on the 1965 Frank Herbert novel of the same name. It stars Kyle MacLachlan in his film debut, Francesca Annis, Leonardo Camino, Brad Dourif, Jose Ferrer, Linda Hunt, Virginia Madsen, Kenneth McMillan, Sting, Max van Sydow, and Alicia Witt. And what is it about, Toph?
Are you familiar with the concept of a white savior, Billy?
Doesn't sound too familiar to me.
Films have dabbled in this field before.
Okay. Oh, yeah, all right. It sounds a little familiar.
Yeah, okay, well. Get your eyeballs around it.
You're a fan of the book Dune, am I correct?
That's correct.
Have you read all of them, including?
No, I've read the first 3.
Okay, yep. But you had never seen this. Had you seen the miniseries before?
No.
Okay.
I hadn't got into Junior McAvoy as... Is he... I mean, I haven't seen it. I don't know. I think he plays Paul's son.
Oh, right.
I'm not sure.
Is that in the second miniseries, Children of Dune?
Yeah. I think he's young Leto Atreides. Leto Atreides.
right.
I don't know if it's Leto or Leto. Don't know how they... I don't know Arrakis pronunciation. Or Caladan, I suppose.
You haven't
because
studied it?
It's probably a Caladan name, isn't it?
Such a wanker. Actually. I'm waiting for you to throw some of those out. So, this film, I'm not wrong, am I? This film is legendarily bad. Like, there's nobody who thinks this is a good movie, right?
I think there may be a small, and as ever, if what they lack in size, they make up for in fervor. I think there is probably a very small corner of the internet that lives and breathes the Dune 84 hive. I think it's out there. And
that's mind-boggling.
And so when I saw this film for the first time, I was like, I wonder if this is a misunderstood, forgotten gem.
Yeah.
It's not.
It's not. It's absolutely not.
Bad film.
This is a really, really bad movie. You weren't lying when you told me it was bad. This is really bad.
It's flat out bad.
Let's start with Lynch, because I'm usually on board with Lynch. He's usually a lot weirder than this, I gotta say. This is quite straightforward, really. Like, it's bad. It's not bad because it's weird or anything. It's just kind of bad. Where are you on Lynch usually?
I would call myself a Lynch fan. I'm not far enough down the rabbit hole that I could claim to be like a full-on Lynch head.
Yeah, but I know that, like, for example, Mulholland Drive, you're a fan of.
Genuinely a 10 out of 10 film.
Twin Peaks?
Never seen Twin Peaks.
Really? Okay, yeah. Interesting.
But
Eraserhead is one of my favorites.
Yeah, Blue Velvet I'm into. Like, sure, bring on the Lynch.
Yeah. This film doesn't feel like a Lynch film to me. Like, it feels like this could have been made by anybody.
Yeah, when we were watching it, talking over the film because it's bad.
Yeah.
And I was, as I was saying to you then, it's, to me, I wouldn't count it as a Lynch film in the same way that I don't count Alien 3 as a Fincher film.
Yeah.
It's not their work, really.
Yeah, I mean, it feels to me like it's trying to emulate Star Wars, really, and failing very miserably.
Yeah, because, like, Lucas, like, definitely borrowed from Dune, but made a rollicking adventure in the spirit of the serials that he liked growing up. He skipped the, what you might think of more as the high-minded aspect of Dune, and trying to take Dune and then force it into a Star Wars-shaped whole.
Yes.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, and that's the problem that Lucas then had with the prequel series, I think, is that's when he did, like, those movies, there's so much fucking politics in them that they just get boring. I'm really curious to see how the Villeneuve adaptation of this goes and which way it leans. I'm expecting it to be a full mishmash of high-minded with a little bit of swashbuckling. I just don't know how it's going to fit.
Well, one of the reasons I'm, like, really just genuinely optimistic about the new adaptation is thinking about what Villeneuve did with Blade Runner 2049, which is, it's not an action sci-fi film. It's kind of a vibe. And if he goes for the same sort of thing with Dune, I think it could be genuinely successful. It won't be as crowd-pleasing which is exactly what happened with Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah.
But I really dig Blade Runner 2049. My estimation of it has basically gone up with every subsequent viewing I've had of it. And if he brings that same sort of energy to Dune, I think it's going to kick ass. Because then we've seen what happened when you just try and make a crowd-pleasing 80s cheese fest version of it. And we might have touched on this before. Not a good film.
This film is far too long. It's so long. I mean, certainly it feels long.
It does feel long, and it's weird that while it's being long, you can also really feel the ways in which it's been brutally cut down from that initial. What was the first cut? Like over 4 hours, was it?
Yeah.
Because then and more so in the second half of the film, and even more particularly in the final third of the film, you really feel it, where the scenes and sequences just don't wed together at all. They're just like these little series of snippets with bulk voiceover, because they have to just spoon feed you what's going on, because we've clearly just lost the narrative thread completely.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the narrative. I haven't read Dune. I'm a big sci-fi fantasy reader. I love the Barsoom series, Wheel of Time, great books, all that kind of stuff. I never got to Dune. I found this movie extremely hard to follow. As someone who's read the books, did you find the same thing? I had to turn to you about 20 minutes in and say, what the fuck is happening? I didn't understand.
And I was probably like, I don't know. Yeah, look, I did think that watching this film. I was like, I know what's going on only because I've read the book. There's so much stuff in here. And like, particularly in the second half, where you're just like, if I had not read it, I would be so fucking lost.
Yeah.
Just no question about it. Because there's stuff in the book that, and I really like this about Dune. I like it when sci-fi books do this. Like, Hyperion does the same thing, where it just throws a bunch of shit at you with just enough information that you can then color it in yourself. And there's a bunch of that shit in Dune that's just kind of left to you.
Yeah.
And if you don't totally get it, it doesn't matter. You'll still be able to follow the thread. Like, if you asked me what's the weirding way in Dune, I have no idea.
Yeah.
And I have even less idea after watching this film.
It's just kind of color that adds to the universe without
but
really
you're not lost in the story if you're like, I really don't. Like, do I 100% know what's going on here? No.
Yeah.
But am I still having a good time? Yes. That's with
not
the
with
book.
the film.
Yeah, not with the film.
Because I had zero idea what was going on, and I wasn't having that good a time.
So this, do you remember when we spoke, another patron request that we had?
Jeez, they've had some doozies, haven't they?
In the before time. I can't remember if it was just an episode that went out to the patrons. It might have been when we did A Cure for Wellness.
No, that went wide. That was a regular episode.
That's out there in the world? Okay.
Yeah.
One thing I remember we said about that film, and I think it completely, you just copy and paste to 1984's Dune, every 20-minute segment of the film is worse than the one that came before it. It starts like not good, but watchable. Yeah. And it's just a series of steps downwards.
The fun thing about that is that it gives you a little bit of a clock to mark the time, because you can feel those dips. So every time you feel the movie get worse, like it's
Take a drink.
Yeah, you're like, oh, okay, good. 20 minutes have passed. We're getting closer to the end.
Because it starts off, okay, like there's some pretty brutal exposition to start off with. Like they literally just bring worlds up on what, these days it would be like a hologram or something. Yeah. There's people looking at these worlds, just talking about them in a manner that no two people would. It's purely for the audience. It's pretty bad. But in those early scenes, like I'll actually stick up for some of the set design.
I was just about to bring that up. I agree. I think the set design and like the costuming, some of the aliens and stuff is kind of cool.
Yeah, there's some stuff there. I wouldn't, maybe not 100% of it, but a bunch of it, I'm like, yeah, you know what? There's the bones of something kind of cool here.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's super overlit, which almost ruins the aesthetic of the sets to me. Like,
it's got almost like a 1980s BBC look going on.
It does, yeah, like a sitcom feel almost. Like you think of Alien, for example, and because everything's so dark and dingy, it feels very lived in and real. This is so brightly lit that no matter how nice the design is, you can't help but recognize that it's a set, which is a real shame and does it a real disservice.
Happily, the body shields haven't aged a day.
Oh, fuck me dead. Is that the cube thing?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know if it was body shield. It looks like when Superman sends someone into the Phantom Zone, but it is so bad.
They're incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Like, they just go cubey and kind of like oil painting style. It's really horrendous. And I mean, we have to remember that this film is from 84, so I don't know, take it with a grain of salt, but it's fucking shit.
And that stuff, like, because it's graphics based, it's 1984. Okay, that is just going to be flat out appalling because it's 1984. But also the anything set in space, like when when they're getting ready to move houses, as it were, from Caladan to Dune. We're sitting there looking at these spaceships docking and whatever, and it looks pretty bad. Yeah. And I turned to you and said, "This is 1 year after Return of the Jedi."
Yes. Yeah.
Whoa.
It's insane.
Ouch. It's not what you want.
It's shocking. It's like, honestly, I've seen Ed Wood films that look better. Like egg cartons.
I've never actually seen an Ed Wood film.
Oh, really?
Really?
Oh, it's a shame you've left the show, mate. We could do one.
in the movie Ed Wood, but that's it.
It's a shame you've left the show, mate. We could do one.
Get our Plant 9 on.
Yeah, just not good.
Mm. And this is being accompanied by just an awful lot of voiceover. Like, it really ramps up in the second half because it needs to just explain to you what's going on. But it's there throughout, and it's pretty tough stuff.
The voiceover,
it's like, I mean, the Princess Irulan stuff is, it is what it is. It's how they've decided to frame it, kind of whatever. Kyle MacLachlan's voiceover work as Paul.
The spice.
Good grief. The second moon.
The second moon. Like, it's really, really, really bad. Everything is whispered, and it's just confusing. Like, I feel like it's supposed to be there as exposition to help you as the audience understand what's happening better. For me, it did the exact opposite. I was so distracted by the terrible writing, the terrible delivery, the terrible everything, that I couldn't follow what was happening.
Mm. Kyle MacLachlan's hair as well.
Oh, geez.
Very distracting.
It's not good, is it?
Speaking of good sets, though, we get this establishing shot of the Harkonnen home base, which it's a reasonably quick shot. It's not overly spectacular. In some ways it's totally dispensable. But if you want to just be a bit rabbit holey and film nerdy about it, there is a kind of cool thing about this shot, because the design for the Harkonnen home base involves this giant human head, which, if you watch the documentary Jodorowsky's Dune, exploring the failed attempt at the director Jodorowsky adapting Dune, which kind of morphed into this film, the design for the Harkonnen home base for his film was done by Geiger. And it was one of the things that eventually kind of morphed into the xenomorph. In Alien.
Yep.
So it's almost, it's not an intentional Easter egg, but if you've gone down the rabbit hole with Dune a little bit, there is this kind of just little, I see what's going on there. And then it makes you think of Alien, and you're like, oh, I wish I was watching Alien.
You're happy for a minute there when you think of Ripley, and then you remember Kyle MacLachlan.
Then you get back to the movie, and you're there with Baron Harkonnen, who is identifiable as the bad guy because he's a ginger homosexual.
Yeah, why are all the bad guys ginger in the film? Is that a thing in the book?
No, I think it's just a bit of coding by the filmmakers.
Like the bad guys wear black and the good guys wear white. But
yeah,
here it's
tough. It's
gingers.
A tough day for the red nuts.
June 84. It really is. It's a little offensive.
It is more than a little offensive.
I wasn't sure if maybe it was a bit of a spice thing, like referencing Ginger Spice from the Spice Girls.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's where my head went almost immediately. And not just redheads, but bad hairdos too. What's the deal with the kind of reverse mohawk?
Oh yeah, they've got that
they've got like a shaved.
They've got the landing strip shaved into their heads.
Yeah,
that's a choice.
All of them except for Sting, which is weird.
Sting, who at one point walked into a scene and you said, "Oh, that guy kind of looks like Billy Idol." I was like, the guy who's clearly Sting.
Come on, what is Sting's relevance? How many people really remember what Sting looks like these days?
You're saying that Billy Idol lives on more in popular culture in the year of our Lord 2021 than Sting.
I mean, he lives on more in my memory because his name is Billy, so I could identify with him.
You know, I mean, I'm props to Billy Idol for never having gone like, I'm going to make music with a fucking harp now.
Yeah. I mean, come on, what song do you remember?
It's not a harp. What is that fucking instrument?
Is it a zither? Is it a zither that he's playing these days?
It wasn't a zither. Don't know.
Speaking of instruments and music, though, can we talk about Toto?
We can talk about Toto and how on earth the entire soundtrack to this film is not just a repurposed Africa. Just replace same song. Replace Africa with Arrakis.
Yeah.
There's your movie.
Yeah, get some Rosanna going. Can I tell you a secret? I don't hate the score by Toto. Actually, for me, it was one of the best parts of the film.
Here's something I noticed, though. It said the score's by Toto, but and I can't remember what
theme.
It's called exactly, the Messiah theme or something, whatever that main thing is, was by Brian Eno.
And that is the thing that plays most in the film.
Yeah, and that's... So anytime that I really particularly noticed the music, I was like, I actually suspect that I'm noticing Brian Eno, not Toto.
I had the same thought, actually, and I wasn't sure whether maybe Toto were performing that.
Could there be a more 80s conversation?
I mean, let's get some Flock of Seagulls going.
Hungry like the Harkonnens. How good's the bit? Once we're into the section of the film, we're a fair way into it. They've met up with the Fremen. Paul and his mum, that is, have met up with the Fremen.
Yeah,
and we're into that bit where it's just become like really little 2-minute, like literally like little 2-minute episodic chunks that they have to voice over, so you know what's going on. And it's just like you just reach this part in the film where it's like, okay, they've been accepted into the Fremen. Also, she's pregnant. Oh, and also the baby knows everything. Yeah, it's just like, what if for the like, it's jarring when you know where the story's going. I don't know what it was like for you, just being like, wait, what the fuck?
Confusing, very confusing. I honestly, I found it so confusing at the time that before recording this, I've been reading the Wikipedia, I've been doing everything I can to try and piece it all together. I could not tell you the relationship between most of these characters. I don't know who the fuck the little girl is. I knew that was Paul's mum, but until you said it, I didn't really make the connection. Like, it's a very, very confusing film.
Weird shit. A lot of phallic objects.
Yeah,
in this movie, isn't there?
There's
like an awful lot.
Just about every second object is shaped like a wang.
Yep. The worms themselves.
Yeah, which we'll get to in a minute.
There's killing devices for some reason shaped like a schlong. Spacecraft,
spaceships,
definite wang vibes from the spacecraft.
Just made me think of Austin Powers when Dr. Evil escapes in the giant dick.
100%. Jesus, I don't know which production designer that was just like killing time by drawing dick and balls on the wall.
know.
And someone walked in, and David Lynch walked in and was like, that.
You got to do the David Lynch voice. That looks great. I made you laugh. You know my impressions are wonderful. I know you've missed my impressions.
Were you doing David Lynch? Is that what that was?
No, that was David Lynch.
Okay.
He's got a real high-pitched voice.
Yeah. I thought maybe you're doing Krang from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but
another great 80s show.
Definitely.
Yeah, lots of dick shapes. It is very much like someone was just drawing dicks and nobody else noticed until it was too late.
Yeah. It's like almost as off-putting as Sting coming out of the shower.
Yeah, that was a
which
weird
is
scene.
an incredible shot as he's just like, the camera moves in on Sting, just luxuriating in his own existence.
Yeah,
as Baron Harkonnen basically whips it out and starts going at it right just at the sight of him.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
The way he's standing in that scene is and he holds that pose for ages as the camera pulls in.
Incredible.
Let's talk about the worms for a minute, because for me, that's all I knew of Dune, really. I knew about spice. I knew that they whispered spice a lot, and I knew that there were big old worms like Tremors ripoff. And so So I was actually surprised by the staggering lack of worm in this film. There's not that many worms, and they really don't have anything to do with the plot at all. They're just kind of there, and there's only really one scene where it actually matters that they're there. Is it the same in the book? Are they a big deal?
They're a big deal, but they're not in it a ton.
Okay.
They're very important, but
Yeah.
it's not like every second scene has a sandworm.
Right, because I honestly thought this was going to be Tremors on the moon. That's kind of
like Tremors on the moon. Fuck me. For instance, the scene where he jumped up on one. That's very important to his whole white savior arc.
Yeah.
But in the movie, it's just one of those sequences that just comes out of nowhere, gets half explained, and then we move on.
Yeah,
Fucking
literally.
weird shit. Yeah, just really weird stuff.
Now, this film does feature one of your favorite things of all time, which is a child performance.
Jesus Christ.
I had no fucking clue that was Alicia Witt until later on. Did you know?
No, I was just looking through IMDb when, it was there was, just weird, blue-eyed, annoying child in this yelling out weird words.
So can you please explain to me who she is? I still don't understand.
So she is she's Paul's full sister.
That's what I thought. She's his sister. Yeah.
Yeah. So Lady Jessica was already pregnant when old mate Das Boot copped it.
Yeah.
And
so why is she weird? How does she? Why does she say weird things all the time?
Yeah. So this gets skipped over very quickly in the film. When the Lady Jessica goes through the process of becoming the Reverend Mother for the Fremen,
you said many words just there that I was like, huh?
The kind of trial that she goes through affects not only her, but her unborn child. And so Alia is born a fully functioning, like mentally, not just fully functioning, but has like the memories and experience of an entire line of Reverend Mothers.
Gotcha.
That's what's going on with the weird kid.
Okay. She's fucking awful.
The way that gets... the way they put that across in the film is to have her yell out, "For he is the Kwisatz Haderach." And everyone's like, the what?
When she yells that out as the final line of the film, you and I just lost it. It was and then it just roll credits.
And she's doing almost the Sting move. Just kind of
flailing her arms around.
About. It's like halfway to interpretive dance. It's weird stuff.
Yeah.
It is weird stuff.
I got home and I got a message from you that it was just like, what was it? He is the king of the Scissoract?
The Kwisatz Haderach.
I had a little bit too much to drink. I'd been trying to message that to you already, and I couldn't remember what she said. I was Googling, like, Dune closing lines, and I couldn't figure it out.
And an amazing thing this film does is that it veers away from the cautionary tale that the Dune books are about Messiah figures and just makes Paul like a living... It's just like, hear now the voice of God. Yeah. And Paul's like, oh yeah, that's me. It's like, fucking hell.
Spice. the second moon.
Can we talk about Brad Dourif and how awful he is?
Of course we can.
Holy shit. Like, how did this guy still have any sort of career? following this film.
I mean, honestly, though, how did anyone involved in this film have any kind... How did David Lynch continue a career after this film? I mean, like, honestly, he would have to just completely strip it off his resume and just say, look, I really had nothing to do with that.
4 years to quiz that. Brad Dourif he's doing a lot and none of it's good. It's really awful stuff. I almost really like the performance for Baron Vladimir Harkonnen. It's like it's way over the top, but it's joyously over the top.
Yeah.
And while he's kind of like just in his own movie, there is something actually quite enjoyable about it, I find.
I agree. To me, actually, that's where this movie would have... if everybody was giving 400%, if this movie was just cheese to the max, it might have actually worked. The problem is that it's this complete mishmash where some of it is very cheesy, some of it takes itself so seriously, like all of Paul's dramatic The Second Moon, where you're not meant to be laughing at all. There's no cheese to that stuff.
Yeah, it's just great unintentional.
Just doesn't work. Yeah. I mean, this has to go in the pantheon of bad films we've watched.
It's pretty awful. Awful.
But at least we got some nuggets.
We got a heap of nuggets.
A heap. I ordered way too many.
Yeah.
As is my wont.
And some chips.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, I did get chips, didn't I?
Yeah.
Wow.
You got about and shoveled them down, hoping that I wouldn't even notice that you only got chips for one.
I had already smashed a double quarter pounder meal on the way to your place too.
Good Lord.
I'm a monster. I need help. Lockdown has not been kind to me. We've been locked down now for 8 weeks. I've gained 11 kilos.
If you had red hair, you'd look like a Harkonnen.
I'd need to shave the landing strip, to match the bald spot I've already got.
Well, yeah, then you do that, because you've kind of got Second Moon bald spot. So if you did a strip down the middle of your head, it'd look like you'd done a spaceship from Dune on your head, which is to say,
just a big old
wang. Yeah.
All right, how are you scoring Dune 1984?
I'm going to stretch it out to a 3 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm also a 3.
There's the odd good thing about it, few and far between, and really nothing in the final 45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a bad movie.
It is. I think much like how at the start of this year there were several movies that I rated too high just because I was happy to be back in a cinema again, I think the majority of the reason I'm giving this as a 3 is just because I was in your lounge room, we had nuggets, we had beer, and it was fun. It was a fun night.
Overall, it was a fun night. It was a fun night that involved a very bad film.
Yeah, next time we'll watch something better. Actually, speaking of Denis Villeneuve, our great friends at Dendy Cinema are running a Denis Villeneuve retrospective that I'm going to get to, which means I'm finally going to see Blade Runner 2049.
You're going to have to watch Blade Runner.
That's what I was going to say. Shamefully, I should probably see that first. So maybe we should catch up and watch that together.
I'm always up for watching Blade Runner.
Well, thank you so much.
In fact, I think last time I saw it was at said Dendy Cinemas.
Really?
When they, saw the final cut there. I think it's the second time I've seen it at the movies. That's a worthwhile undertaking. Blade Runner at the movies fucking rules.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'd
like to say it was a pleasure.
Find you, but you don't want people to find you anymore.
I didn't want people to find me before that.
But have you been enjoying the new episodes, mate?
I haven't not enjoyed anything I've listened to.
You haven't listened to anything, have you?
Well, look, we could figure out how many I've listened to. It's been a while since school and doing maths, but is it still correct? I know sometimes they change things in maths, like what your kids do is not how you did it.
Yeah,
is it still the case that anything times 0 is 0?
Yeah, that's right. Because you do the multiplication first and then the addition and subtraction.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, it's not many then.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Well,
I appreciate the support.
Yeah. It's like if you you break up on really good terms and you genuinely wish someone well, but like you don't want to see them kissing someone at a pub.
Exactly. I know. Yes. I know.
I don't want to see you kissing anyone in a pub, Billy.
Our friend Sam, I know you're listening, Sam, and I know that you've been trying to goat me because you keep messaging on the group chat, just being like, "Oh, hey, Toph, we still doing this movie? And I know that you're trying to goat me into like getting jealous. I'm not gonna, mate.
I can see his face, Sam. It's working.
I'm red with anger. Stop doing it, Sam. All right.
Said Stacey.
Oh, sick burn. Well, thank you again for doing this with me. This was so much fun. I'm sure the listeners have missed you, and I mean, we'll catch up on the show again when the new Dune comes out, won't we?
Could happen. Could happen when we hopefully get a good Dune part 1.
Yeah. Where do you think it's
it'll do the
end?
same box office as Blade Runner 2049, and we won't get part 2. It'll be like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
I mean, that's the concern, isn't it? That we'll end up with, like John Carter, where you get a brilliant first film, but nobody likes it, so you don't get a second.
Yeah, and this obviously won't even pass the bar of John Carter.
No, obviously not.
How could it? There's no Tim Riggins in this.
All right. Well, in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with me, you can do that at wewatchedathing.com or wewatchedathing@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all under the handle @wewatchedathing. If you want to help support the show and make us watch something absolutely abysmal like Austin did, you can do that at patreon.com/wewatchedathing, and I'll catch you next week.
Watch a movie, folks.
I was wondering if you'd say it.